Okay.
It's my turn to have a grab bag.
Okay.
I
Sure. It's been a
insist.
while.
I'm going to challenge you. But I have some sad news for you.
I'm our fail.
Yesterday, one of my kind of favorite people in the entire music world, Peter Yarrow, died yesterday, of Peter, Paul, and Mary. Now, he's been a very courageous guy. He's written a lot of songs that had a lot of significance. I remember when there was a problem in South America, and he wrote about the South American problems, the farm worker problems, civil rights problems, of course, and things. He's been a major figure, and I will miss all of his. He wrote the song "The Great Mandela." And if you can get a chance, look up Richie Havens and Peter Yarrow singing "The Great Mandela," because Richie Havens gives that earthy feeling.
Oh yeah.
And I love that. I don't know if it was ever on a record, but it is on the video of Peter, Paul, and Mary as a biography of them, of the group, and you can get it on the internet.
All right.
It's really worth something.
I'll check
and
that
so
out.
I pulled up one of their live concerts albums, and this is probably the one that was their most famous record. It has Paul Stokey was good at comedy, and he could do the sounds of cars. Do you remember that? Anyway, he had a deal where he would act like he was a punk, and he had a race car or a dragster, and it was all so amusing. And of course, Mary Travers, who died way too early and all, but the three of them were just terrific together.
They were.
And when they first got together, and weren't sure, and they were in Greenwich Village in New York, and they knew they wanted to sing, but they didn't know if they could be a trio together. They were being kind of put together by people in the music industry and clubs. And so they got together in an apartment, and they said, well, what song do all three of us know? And they couldn't think of one, so they decided, let's sing Mary Has a Little Lamb. So they sang Mary Has a Little Lamb together, and they said, I like it.
Yeah,
And that's how it started. Isn't that?
I think
amazing.
that's for a lot of musicians and vocalists. I mean, I'm sure when David Crosby and Stills and Nash got together, and just kind of like, duh, that's good. That's good. We like that. And I'm sure there's hundreds of bands that we could think of that, the vocalist suddenly hit it, and you go, oh yes, that's it, and unfortunately there's a lot of great musicians out there that get together and it comes out flat, whatever the mix of artists, it's just not the right mix, and unfortunately they're in a recording studio and they've got to put out something, and they put it out and it doesn't do anything, and no one ever heard anything on it, and it's that ends up being in Nowheresville. What you got next there, Dizzy?
I was trying to really get excited here, so I'm going to go to one of my all-time favorites, Santana.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is the first one, and I think the best one of all time. And that's not unusual. Sometimes,
Not Abraxas, huh?
no, not compared to this. Not compared.
Does that Black Magic Woman on it?
No, that is.
She's not there? Is that on? No. Okay.
No.
Well, it doesn't matter what Santana record you're listening to. I like
Evil
them.
Ways.
I like them all. Well,
Waiting.
Evil Ways is great. But a lot of Santana records, even some of the smaller ones. I don't know. They probably didn't sell a whole bunch. Caravan. I don't know what.
Soul Sacrifice.
Soul Sacrifice. Ooh. Well, there you go. And the artwork on this was so wild, you know.
I'm glad you mentioned that. You know,
When I see the artwork, I'm trying to remember it all. I remember it being this lion figure, but
one of
those-
my first jobs.
Yeah, we got a face up here, right? We got a
Right.
face at the top. You can see that.
I worked at a poster company. I was a salesman, and at the poster company, Rolling Posters was the artist that had done this cover. And originally, it was a Fillmore West, or no, Fillmore. It was before there was ever a Fillmore West.
You got two
A
guys
Fillmore
talking up
poster, and the artist is Lee Conklin. I worked with him, and I just like so many artists, I said, "You must be. How many millions of copies this record has sold? You must be rich from this." And he says, "No, I did it for a flat fee of just like hundreds of dollars." And it's now been reproduced, on posters, records, CDs, and
So
all
musicians
kinds of
aren't the only ones getting screwed.
Oh,
That's
no,
right. No, artists got
no.
screwed too.
But this is one of my all-time favorite records. I just, track for track. I love it. It used to be that you could buy an album and really say everything on side one and side two. I love it. Like Sgt. Pepper's or the White Album. Any of those.
I mean, this is when Greg O'Reilly was with them, and who later joined Journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, all really, really good stuff. But like I said, even later stuff, I still enjoy a lot of Santana.
Oh, yeah.
And the stuff he did with the Maharishi Orchestra, John McLaughlin, also excellent work, and fun to listen to.
You want to see something that's read to the good folks out there. How much did I buy this for? How much was the price of this?
The nice price, $3.99. That's right, folks. Get it before midnight tonight.
Now, if I'd gotten this in mono, it would have been $2.99.
Yeah.
When the albums first came out, during
dropped
this
the big
period
bucks.
of the 60s, which is about 66, 67, $2.99, $3.99 for albums.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
So even on my measly amount of money I was making,
Right.
I could afford it.
Right. Barely.
Sign me up. Now I'm going to switch. I'm going to go.
Oh, here we
I'm
go.
going to, I don't stick in one category. Dizzy's not a
Oh,
one category guy. And you're not a one category guy.
So you got a rap record for me? So hip hop?
Now there's a genre of music that Dizzy never got into, rap.
No.
But it's a little bit after my time because after 1983, I stopped buying records and really stopped listening to music. On a radio, as far as that goes.
Oh, okay. Current. Right.
Horace
We'll go
Silver.
back to
This
his-
is Blue Note. This is the best of Blue Note. And you know what? The reason I'm holding this album is Horace Silver was one of the first Blue Note artists on LPs, because Blue Note was available, started in 1939, and so it was all 78s. And their first record was with, on the 78, was Meade Lux
Lux
Lewis
Lewis.
doing Melancholy Baby. And I don't know the flip side. And I have that record on 78. I have it. And I didn't realize the significance of that record, that I had the first record produced by Blue Note.
Or by Blue Note.
And I don't know if anybody else cares, but Dizzy does. And I'm very proud to have that. Yeah. And Horace Silver was in Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. And he wrote the song Preacher. I think it's Preacher Man. But in any
But
ways,
it's not Son of a Preacher Man.
no. And-
That was the sequel.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he produced and wrote so many songs during that period. This is very early in jazz. This is 52. He didn't switch and become his own on Blue Note with his own group till 63, 64.
Wow.
So he was in many different bands
he was
as
a
a side man and part of the Jazz Messengers for quite a few years.
Yeah. So there you are, Horace Silver, a great jazz
And
artist.
this is the best of Blue Note.
Best of Blue Note. Not to be confused with Prestige or some other.
Now you know I keep. And you know what? Because this band may have. I think you know a lot more than you. This is
let
the
on?
Twist with the Ventures.
Yes.
What do you want to tell us about the Ventures?
Well, the Ventures were from the Tacoma area,
Right.
and they did, I'd say all instrumental, right? Walk, Don't Run. But they just had a knack for taking any genre of music and adding their own instrumental spice to it. Guitar, bass, and drums, and was it a 2 guitar group?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and just I mean, I got some classical ones by them too. They did it and did it and did it, and some of those records didn't sell maybe that great here in the U.S., especially later on. But they were huge in Japan, and they kept being huge in Japan. They kept touring Japan, and did quite well. And I love it. I've got maybe 30, maybe 20 or 30
Oh, I think
Ventures
you
records.
could easily have 30.
Uh-huh.
I mean, when they were in their heyday, 2 or 3 albums a year was not unheard of.
Right,
So-
right. Oh, and they were able to keep punching them out where others couldn't. But people are writing original material. I mean, I know Brian Wilson was always felt pressure of putting out another album. He's got to get one out in 6 months. Their marketing partner is asking to get something more out. We need some more new material. And when you're doing covers of other people's songs, which the Ventures did 99% of the time, they could have the chart and work it up and put it out.
Well, you can tell by most of these titles that this is their own inspirations, because when I see a thing that says Bumblebee Twist, Shanghai, Moon Tang, Guitar Twist, The Twist, Driving Guitars, Ventures Twist, Opus Twist, Moving and Grooving.
Well, they were putting their own spin on it for sure.
Oh, boy.
On that, I mean, that's original stuff there. But I mean, they also were able to put up a lot of stuff that wasn't original, and that would make it so you could keep putting out more stuff. And that they had some original ones. They probably were still taking off of somebody else's melody and twisting it. Did you see what I did there, folks?
Clever. Champ, that was really amazing. I'm going to give it to you on that one.
What do we got next? Oh,
Well,
boy,
you
the
know,
excitement. I like this one.
I knew you would.
I knew you would.
I'll show it to our vinyl community out there. This is British bands of the 60s. Probably
British.
67.
British
bands of the 60s. Okay?
Yeah, and I think there was like 3 in this series. I think, and
I'll go with that.
I may have all 3. I don't know, but I do love all of them. If I don't have all 3, I guess I'm still.
I can tell you the artist because I cheated and saw that.
Oh.
It got Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, 2 of them. Let me look at the cover again, and that's basically it. Because I know you're not going to know Santa Barbariera,
Stuff
Machine
Smith.
Pad.
I've heard that.
I've heard of Stuff Smith, but I couldn't tell you anything about him.
Cyril Davies.
Cyril Davies. Daves, it looks like, isn't it? Davies. Yeah, Davies. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah,
But
still-
actually, I've heard every cut on this album,
Right.
and I liked it.
Exactly. I agree. It's Stealing with Jeff Beck. All Stars. So
I don't
who
know
else
about
is
you,
playing
but
it.
if I have a chance, and it's not something that's traditional blues and 12-bar blues, but it breaks out of that, I go, yeah. Now
yeah.
you're in my sweet spot.
Right. Well, was a lot of great British blues. Yardbirds, but the band that came.
Well, the Animals were originally a
Alexis-
blues band.
Alexis Kroner. He had a bunch of great artists, and
All these
so
bands
many,
thought they Rolling Stones thought of themselves originally as a blues band.
Yeah, and I've seen some documentaries talking about how they didn't really have too many blues clubs, and the one blues club they had, or when it started, was in London, and when that started, that was the chance for these artists to play and perform and
Yeah.
do what they love to do, which was American blues, and us Americans were too dumb to notice it from our own artists, and or too racist, I don't know which. But the
Well, it was a good foundation to start with.
right, and then when the British sent it back over to us, we were like, hey, that's good stuff. But I do. I'm with you. I agree. That's a great album, and all of those compilations are great. Oh,
I'm going to show you an artist here, and I don't think you're going to know much about him, and I'm not going to say that I do either. But there's a couple reasons I'm showing this album.
I
This
don't
is
know
Michael Matler.
Michael Matler.
And I'm going to admit that I'm not even sure that I know the instrument that he plays.
Oh, I like that. That you're,
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm not
usually
sure.
he's willing to say things that he doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm going to admit that. But the reason I mention this is that they started their own record label. He and Carla Bley had their own record label. And this is before people ever thought that they could have their own record label.
Yeah.
And
That was
and
a
he
smart
is
move.
still performing, and he's much sought after by jazz enthusiasts.
Oh, interesting.
And he is avant-garde fusion, if you want, but more to me avant-garde. And what is his instrument? Do you see it back there?
Music, Michael Matler. Well, we know what he did the music, and words
Probably
were by
piano, huh?
The words were by Samuel Beckett.
No,
which is the
piano's
guy in-
Carla Bley.
Yeah, piano's Carla Bley. Jack Bruce was voices and voices from his head. I don't know, but voices and bass guitar. And Don Cherry, a great
Trumpet.
jazz trumpet player, did trumpet on this. This is probably a very interesting record. I can tell with that combination of Jack Bruce, who would I don't want to say dabble in blues. He'd dabble in jazz more, I think, than and was more of a blues artist, of course, with Cream. And I don't remember who Carla Bley was with, but I know I've got some Carla Bley records.
Well,
and
no,
she was
she-
more blues, wasn't she?
Well, she's just avant-garde jazz.
Oh, avant-garde jazz.
Yeah.
Okay. So and this, it's kind of. But this is a U.S. artist.
No,
You don't know?
I'm gonna go British.
You're going British artist.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Well, that's what I was feeling, because I was thinking in my head while looking at this is I'm thinking of another artist, Oblivion Express. Can you tell me the guy I'm thinking of? Oblivion Express.
Yeah.
It's not coming to.
No, it's not coming to
Dizzy
me
right
either.
now.
No.
But I've got a ton of his records too, and a keyboardist, and he even did something with the Monkees. But I'm sorry, can't. I'll put it up here in the thing, and but another great British blues organist, and if you got B3 organ, I'm always all over that. But just a lot of good blues.
He had an initial album that really did
Brian Auger.
Brian
I think
Auger,
Brian Auger.
right? And Brian Auger and his Oblivion Express. You know what probably tipped your memory is when you say the words Oblivion Express, you remember that before Oblivion Express was his name.
Yeah. No, you eventually
Brian
see it.
Auger
I see it
and
in my
Oblivion.
brain somewhere.
And he had
but-
Julie Driscoll, I think.
Yes, and before that, he was with a thing called Steam Packet, which had Rod Stewart.
Whoa,
in it as
trivia
well.
galore here.
Yeah, Rod Stewart and Steam Packet with Julie Driscoll. I think might have been in that group too.
And then she later became a solo artist and put out her own albums, which were very good and all that, but and never really sold much. And that is giving us that's must have been another British band, because it just doesn't seem like it was here in the United States.
Oh, this Michael Matler. Yeah, well, this looks cool. I'd like to hear it
with
sometime.
words by Samuel Beckett
I know, I saw that.
from
So,
How It Is.
from How It Is. And this is on Watt.
Boy, does
Watt.
this make me curious.
On Watt, but it's not Watts or Watt Stacks or anything. It's just Watt.
Yeah.
This is 1964. Oh wait, no, the words were from 1964. Copyright 1964. So the Samuel Beckett. So and Samuel Beckett, he's the guy that did the
Waiting for Godot.
Okay,
Yeah.
we were on the same page on that one at least. So that's all real interesting. I'll have to hear this record sometime. Maybe you'll be kind enough to let me borrow it. It's
I'm going to put it on your side of the
Ooh.
dizzy couch there.
far out. Ruby.
You know, I've asked you many times, and
Me?
I know my answer. But if I let's just say that I just hit high school or started to listen to music
I'm waiting
in
for you to hit high school.
1959, what would be my favorite right then and there? This is before the Beatles and before LPs.
Little Richard.
Pretty good, close. It's a group though.
Oh, it's a group. Okay. And Bill Haley in the comments.
Rock Around the
Clock.
Clock.
Oh,
Man, when
man.
I heard Rock Around, I still
I think there's a bunch of people that feel that way. I mean, a lot of people, of course, when the Beatles hit, that was that was for a lot of people that did do it. But before that, this was your rock and roll. Rock Around the Clock, Rip It Up. See you later, alligator.
Razzle Dazzle was a pretty good thing for
Rock This Joint Tonight.
you know when and there's been groups that have since done recreations of this music in this genre.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think they're doing it here, but the bass player, here he
Yeah,
is. He's laying
They-
right
see
on
that?
the
laying on the bass.
bass, but he wouldn't just lay on the bass.
He would climb up on top of it, on the
and
side
be
of it.
playing it
Yeah.
at the same time.
And some of these antics were done by other artists too. I wouldn't pass Louis Jordan as not doing stuff like that. He probably did have his.
But I
his
do
footage,
like
so-
it that it became not only music, but a kind of a complete show. That you
Right.
said, and you would just because they'd be like playing out of their minds, and you got a bass player jumping up on the bass.
Bass,
Oh,
yeah.
brother!
Yeah.
And what a horn section! I mean, because my brother's a horn player. I hate to mention it.
yeah.
The champ plays trumpet,
Yeah.
and we like. We're both very much into groups that had horn players.
Horn bands, yeah.
And you add a horn section for either of us onto a record, and we're in.
Yeah, that'll do it for us. Live in New York. So that's probably a fun one as well. I'm with you on that. Okay. So is that it for this group?
That's it for this group.
Okay.
I am sad to say,
There we go.
but I
this-
hate to disappoint all you folks out there. You think people will leave us any comments today? I hope so.
It's a possibility.
Am I going to get this fellow's name right? Richard
No.
White?
It's okay. We'll.
Is it Richard White?
It is Richard White. That's one of them. But we have other people that are commenting, and I'm appreciative of that. I'm not as dizzy as
Richard, I'm
excited
kinda partial
so
to
much,
you.
but I do like it. Does make me think about other things that we could do.
Well, some recent comments
Yeah,
helped
how-
bring out more information that we were not aware
yeah,
of.
like there was some stuff on Neil Sedaka that we were like, oh, well, Dizzy was right. It was his daughter that performed on a record, but it was a different record, In the Pocket, I think the gentleman said, and but it was his daughter. So
And her name was Carla. Isn't it? you
Tara,
said?
Tara, and but that's always makes it more fun when we get a little interaction with our viewers. So enjoy
We appreciate it.
and champ out.
Dizzy out.